Another area of simplification in the data reduction is the tool that allows to do curve analysis and create curves, plot curves. As you can see, now you have three options instead of one in the previous versions. You have standard curve, dose response curves, and custom. Standard curves will only be available if you have defined standard in the plate layout. And in that case, as you can see here, the curve is generated from your standards. Here, the curve fit by default has been set to linear regression, which is very standard for curve fitting standard curve. Obviously, you have access to all of the other functions here, and the data out by default is to calculate concentrations. So here you have a tool that is really dedicated to creating a standard curve using a very basic curve fit for plotting the curve and then outputting the concentrations on the unknowns. On the other hand, you also have access to dose response. A dose response curve analysis. This will only be available if you have diluted samples defined on your plate layout. As you can see here, if I use this tool, by default GenFev will use samples. I have defined diluted samples on my plate layout. Also, the default curve fit in the case of a dose response curve is set to a nonlinear regression using a 4-parameter fit, which is very usual with dose response curves that have a sigmoidal shape. And again, if you go to data out in that case, the default calculation is an EC50 or a dose response here corresponding to a 50% response on your curve. So here what you can see are more specialized tools that are preset to do what they're supposed to do. And finally, you have access to the custom curve analysis that is completely open, allows you to use either samples or standards, and also gives you access to the parallel line analysis that is a very powerful tool available in Gen 5 for custom calculations. So the purpose here is to give you more specialized tools that give you direct access to what you want to do. Standard curve to calculate unknown concentrations, calculation of EC50s, or more custom type of curve fittings.